Yeah, this is professional photography at its best. Okay, so this is going to be an appendage to the forgiveness, surrender, and honest, impartial self-observation video. And this is mainly going to go into, more specifically, how to forgive, the actual technique, okay? But first here, I had a dream that demonstrated basically what ego is doing, the false self, when it doesn't forgive. So let's look at this here. An older decrepit man, the ego, wanted to get revenge on me, so he cut off both arms and came to my house. He was in the backyard by the dog, who was locked in the pen, and this was the house I grew up in, and we had a dog pen, which we never used, but in the dream, the dog was in the dog pen and the guy was harassing the dog. So I thought he was going to harm the dog. I was concerned about him hurting the dog. I was with a little boy who represented my inner child or true self. The man came into the house and we captured him to stop him from doing harm, because in the dream, there was a great sense of malice coming from this man. And I had done nothing wrong to anyone. It became clear that his real intention was to fool me into thinking he was going to do harm, but wasn't to get back at me. And this again demonstrates the ego's deception, how deceptive it can be. He was just getting me to worry and feel fear through pretending he was going to do harm. But see, there was no real threat. There's more meaning in that. Think about that one. That's the ego is only going to all the fear and anger that you feel is through and of the ego. And all the threats, none of them are real. So he then elicited the support of others he knew to come to my house and simply watch me. There was these people milling around my house that I knew were on his side, and they were just watching me with kind of a stern look on my face, trying to elicit a sense of guilt within me. There was a feeling that they saw me as a bad guy. This is what the ego does. It takes an opposing self-defensive view to protect itself and convinces others of its lies to validate itself. So yeah, I've seen this many, many times. When something happens to someone else's ego, say I do something which is total truth, call them out on something, and then boom, they get angry, and the ego just goes rah, 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 like, oh yeah, okay, that's not you, that's your ego, go, just do. And then they'll go and they'll find allies. They'll say, David said this, but this is true, I'm right, aren't I? Come on, take my side. That's what it does, to try to validate itself, because it knows it's full of shit. And it's not real, but it's almost comical when you see this going on. So there's a feeling that they saw me as a bad guy. This is what the ego does. It takes an opposing self-defensive view to protect itself and convinces others of its lies to validate itself. as small children, we use this technique. We put up walls to protect ourselves. We that's the pride. We pull into the pride. We set it in stone. When someone does something that upsets us, instead of looking at the ego and seeing that it's doing it, we blame the other person, and we block ourselves off from loving them by putting this wall up of our pride, and we stubbornly hold on to it. God damn, that's so self-destructive. It will eat you up inside, and you will likely manifest cancer. Stop doing that. Just surrender and watch the ego. Use the impartial self-observation. You'll see it. Okay, now when we get older, when we do that, we're only validating, protecting, and building up, aggrandizing the ego. We don't want to do that. We want to take the mask off and see behind the veil. So again, it may have served us when we were little kids, but as adults only destroys our integrity and well-being and happiness, as well as our relationships and so many other things. See how the ego's selfishness is so self-destructive. As the man cut off his own arms, it's like shooting yourself in the foot to get back at someone else. That's what anger and non-forgiveness does, holding a grudge. You hurt yourself to try to get back at someone else. Does that make any sense? The man cut his arms off to get back at me. Right? And that's what the ego does. Okay? So now let's go into the forgiveness techniques more specifically. Okay. So again, your impartial self-observation to forgive. You want to separate yourself from the ego, from the other person. Detach yourself from the ego. Realize that they were coming from ego when they did what they did, which is all about me. Ego me. Ego me wants just to be protective, feel safe, to feel loved, but it can't. You can't feel that way. It's just impossible. So what you need to do is get out of that. And once you get out of that ego me trying to feel loved, which it can't, love them. Come back to make it about them. What can I do for them? For you. Love them. Give them what they want. Willingly, not begrudgingly. And that's the sacrificing of the ego. Part of the meaning of the crucifixion. Sacrifice leads to bliss. Look, when you walk this path, every day you pick up the cross and you sacrifice ego a little bit more and more and more and more to the point where it doesn't affect you in a negative way at all. So that's the crucifying. You crucify the ego. You destroy the ego. Okay? Another meaning for the cross is it's an unfolded box. And that's nirvana. Isn't that sweet? Okay. So love them. Give them what they want, providing you do not have to sacrifice your integrity or well-being. Give to all those who ask of you. Remember, they are secret sufferers and desperately need your love. When you first wake up in the morning, notice how free you feel. Notice that. For a very short period, just a few seconds usually, all that stress that you feel during the day, the knot in your gut, if you're carrying one, it doesn't exist, and you're totally free because ego isn't there. When you're in the dream world, when you go to the astral plane, you can't take ego with you. When you die, ego can't go with you. It only exists here. So you're free. Then when you come back after a few seconds, it kicks back in and those feelings come back. Pay attention to that. That's your true self. That's your real self right there. It's totally free. You can experience it for a few seconds, no charge, right in the morning. Okay, so when I was a child, I played hockey. I started at the age of 8, and my father stopped paying when I was 15, which broke my heart because there's really nothing I love more in life than playing hockey. And when I was much older, it came up in a conversation. I think my dad asked me, well, why did you quit playing hockey? I said, well, you quit paying. You said I had to get a job and pay for it myself, and that was too much for me to go to school, play hockey, and have a job. And he said, no, I didn't. I would have never done that. I wanted to see you play juniors. See, he didn't even remember. And that was not really what he wanted, but his ego was in play. And he was asleep at the wheel and came up with some weird ass shit that was my dad did that at times to try to be Mr. Discipliner or whatever the hell he was thinking. So how easy can I forgive that? You know, he didn't know any better. So look at, your parents and the stuff they did. They're asleep at the wheel. They're trying to do the best they can for you. So again, look at their good intentions. Stop making it about me, the ego me, and surrender that bullshit and make it about them. I'm sorry you're upset here. How can I fix it? I want you to be happy. Boom, once you've done that, you've forgiven, baby. And it's all over that because you've sacrificed the ego me and you're going for them. Love, not being right. Stop. Let go of that being right bullshit and losing the battle. There is no battle. It's just the illusion of the ego. Stubbornly holding on to being right to protect itself. Let that mofo get hurt if it needs to weaken it, so you can step back in impartial self-observation and watch it and separate yourself from it. Watch it start to freak out and act like a spoiled child and have a tantrum or whatever the hell it's going to do. But separate yourself from it and watch it and realize this is not you. The true self is you. Love is you. Okay? So, see their good intention. Want to make them happy. Move to love. Stop trying to be right. Think of a time when you were a small child and you misbehaved and then you felt bad about it. Or you did something to somebody else that hurt them and you felt bad about it. And put yourself in their place. Put yourself in their skin. Okay? Instead of being stuck here in the ego. And again, think of times when you misbehaved. And when you were sorry you did something. And see that in them. And that makes it pretend they're you. And you just did something bad that upset someone else. And you feel sorry and bad about it, and you want to fix it with them. So be that person that goes into you and goes, look at it as a small child and embrace it and say, it's okay, I understand. We're all trying to get through this life and graduate and be happy. And we screw up because the ego gets us. All the years I've been practicing, my ego still gets me and fools me sometimes. I always see it afterwards, but there you go. Okay, I think that I gave you some really hot stuff here. This is for the appendage to forgiveness and surrender. And again, remember the surrendering is going to feel so wonderful. If two people come together in this way that I'm speaking, man, that hug, your bond is going to be strengthened. Everything's going to be straightened. You're going to feel freaking amazing. So do it. That's power. That's strength. Not holding those stupid walls up. That's not power. That's weakness. Okay? Rock on.